Hello, everyone. It's Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo here for another Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous Bensday with Batgirl and Ben. Hi, Ben.
Hello, Batgirl.
I get to see you in just, 9 days?
Yeah, very exciting.
It's going quickly. This is like hitting me like a freight train because it's like at my real job, we have lots of launches this time of year, like phones and timepieces and things that you look at that have apples on the back of it, And coming out there...
I'm not picking up on these clues at all.
Yeah, right. Well, it's all right for me to say who I work for. It's not okay for me to give my opinion of the products.
Can I give my opinion of the product?
No, we can't have opinions on this show, Ben. I'm sorry. Even yours. And I don't want to hear your opinion of... You can tell me in person next week, okay?
Okay.
I will teach you like I do all the 80-year-olds that come in to talk to me and 70. Actually, me too, because I was one of those old people that didn't know how to use it.
Well, I figured out how to use it. I just... Some of this... What the hell did they do to messaging?
It's fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna
quote,
digital touch fingerprint
wait,
now.
Quote, fun, unquote, I don't know, however you do it. But let's... Last week we had a couple of questions. One of them was about the community, and I want to touch base on the community with something I want to say first. I've been involved with a lot of games over my years, and I'm going to make this a question to you in the end. And I've been deeply involved with World of Warcraft, with EverQuest, and with other communities like even Falcon 4.0. And although I've had tight-knit communities in the past, there were always these big, vast detractors that were in the community too. I'll call them detractors. Other people would call them assholes, but we're just going to call them detractors. Star Citizen is the first time I've been involved with any kind of community where the predominant population are wonderful people. You have been a community manager and now director of community engagement and ships and something else somewhere in there. And you also ran WCN.
Yes.
Contrast Chris's, what I want to know is, was this the same way for the Wing Commander community and other communities that you've been part of?
No, it really hasn't been. I mean, the Wing Commander community is interesting. We the years when they were most active, we had all the standard problems, but it was 1994. The internet was a little bit different. Back then you had to, be a protocol physicist or something to actually log on. So you didn't quite have some of the horrors you see on the internet today, but still plenty of flame wars and people at each other's throats. I was certainly a big part of that back in the day. I was a pretty obnoxious teenager for a while, into my 20s, but it was all it was kid stuff compared to how people treat each other on the internet sometimes these days. And I think the Wing Commander community certainly matured as it got smaller and kind of became this, the old faithful. So the Wing Commander community that we kind of started with when we set out to build the Star Citizen community was a more mature, older community. Folks who had quieted down a little, who had kind of learned to respect one another and their opinions. I think we built on top of that for Star Citizen. It's been great.
I find it quite amazing. Now, I know that for the most part, the majority of the 1.5 million citizens are not active in the message boards and the different places that there are. Usually, you have the most passionate people there, which is why it turns into a Reddit flame thread often. Now, I'm not going to say other places and other communities. We've had our issues on RSI's website. But when I meet people, and I'm bringing this up because I met a couple of people at work this past week that recognized me from the show. Every time I meet somebody from the community outside, they are the most wonderful people in the gaming community that I've been around. And I find that quite unique amongst this game.
I think it's very much about sharing a passion right now. the idea of Star Citizen is something everybody can look forward to. Other communities, something like Battlefield or Call of Duty, some more typical communities. I'm not saying these are terrible communities and they suck. They don't.
They don't suck.
They don't suck. They're fantastic games, fantastic people. But they're, kind of raison d'etre is pitting people against each other in the game. Hey, you're here to kill everybody on the other team, and then you're going to switch teams and kill each other a different way, and then there's another mode where it's everybody for themselves. So you kind of don't have that long-term passion that's sort of baked into Star Citizen. I think that helps quite a bit.
It does, and I'm asking this because I know that you have now had an opportunity to play and not talk about yet the Star Marine that's going to be coming to us in a few short weeks. I hope sooner than that, but since the Evo Cody doesn't have it, I'm going to say a few short weeks.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I know how you go. There's always something that could keep it from coming out, and we want to make sure that it's ready to be tested and not just be broken. So, that's what we're doing. But even FPS in this game is more about supporting each other than just killing each other. What were your thoughts from the few hours that you got to spend in Star Marine? Am I getting that same feeling?
Yeah, it's very team-based, but it's still that kind of FPS experience. It's never really you fighting other people. I think it goes more than just the gameplay with Star Citizen. It's more, we have all these people kind of behind the idea of doing FPS differently. Nobody goes into the latest Battlefield or Battlefield, I keep meaning Call of Duty, latest Call of Duty saying, oh, what kind of technological improvement is it? It's more, I don't even know where I'm going with this.
It's okay.
But it feels like we have all these people with a full understanding of what goes into the game, which I think helps a lot.
Okay. I want to see if this is it. Ben this is going to come from Michael DeRosa, who has sent in some great questions in the past. Ben, has any discussion taken place with players able to rate the flights they take on in Starfarers, or will it sorry, it might be English as a language, or will that only be an NPC action and not them? I'm talking about me not being able to speak English today, folks, not picking on somebody. I feel that if players are allowed to rate other players they fly with, it will open up griefing. In other words, what they're saying is that I guess it was sent on a 10 for the chairman at one point that you'll be able to rate the players that actually fly with you. Yeah, and what he's saying is, do you think that might, and I started this with the question about the community, because this is going to that. Do you think that this is going to open up griefing, being able to rate players on a scale of 1 to 10, whatever it's going to be, that people just rate somebody they don't like a 1?
I'm sure you'll see that. I'm sure you'll see that in any system. I'm sure there are jerks who take an Uber ride and just rate the guy 1 star just to be mean. But I think in both real life and in Star Citizen, there's a preponderance of good people who take the system seriously and who, treat it in the spirit it's intended. I think we'll definitely see that with the system in Star Citizen. Players will rate each other, and I don't expect it to be a problem. And if it is, it's something we fix. We put our idea out there into the universe, and if we send it out to the Ivacati and the testers and the general world, and they come back and say, hey, this sucks really badly, and it's terrible, and you didn't think this through, and here's this terrible flaw. As with anything else, we'll say, okay, well, we'll rethink that. But right now, I think you get so much more granular data when you actually ask people. A computer can tell me, oh, you got hit with lasers 6 times in this amount of time, you delivered me in this number of milliseconds, and blah, 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 blah. And that's interesting. You can create a formula that will turn that into a rating number. But you get much better, nobody goes on Yelp and wants to see how many people ordered a cheeseburger. They want to see what one particular person thought of it. And there's just much more valuable data from an individual human.
Sorry, I just got disappointing news that David Ladyman wasn't going to be there next week.
For
Citizen Con. I like David. He's a good man. I like to talk to him. I thought maybe he'd bring his son, There is a lot of questions about TN, the next great Star Citizenships all the time. And you have given your answer that you want to get all the ships into the game eventually. So the fact that I put this into general chat means that maybe a lot of people haven't heard you say this before, right? So you said that you have said this. Say it in your own words.
We love all the finalist starships. We've specifically retained the rights to do some of them, but it's nothing we want to promise until we don't even have the winner working yet. So it's more of a down the road we'll revisit.
Have you taken a second look at any of the designs that are on there to possibly bring them in at some point in the past?
I take a constant look at them. In fact, I have all of them in a Pinterest board when I'm thinking about, when we have a hell of a schedule and we're trying to think about what ship we could do. I kind of look to my reference board, and they're all in there with the Star Trek and Star Wars and 2001 ships that I fantasize about. So they're always on our mind.
You kind of sort of got the ship from, what was it, Space 1999 in there. The Aurora kind of looks like a smaller version of the Jumper. Yeah. I'm not going to be... I liked all the ships. There's no doubt about that. But I do have a favorite, and that's a Scimitar. And I'm praying someday you get that in there.
As long as we don't use the name.
Oh, you can't use it, can you? Because it was from Wing Commander?
I'm sure we can use it, but it has bad memories for anyone Wing Commander. Everybody hated it.
It's okay. This is the opportunity to erase those bad memories. Or is it like saying Macbeth when you're standing on a stage?
It might be. Maybe you're not supposed to name a ship Scimitar. Because they named a ship Scimitar in Star Trek Nemesis, and that was one of history's greatest mistakes.
Yeah. Last week we confused some people over the Aquila and the Endeavor. Now, you weren't giving actual release dates or saying what was going... The Carrack, that's right. The Carrack and the Aquila. You weren't giving actually release dates. Can you explain your answer last week?
Sure. It's not terribly sexy. They both have developers on them right now, and we'll release them as they're finished. But I can't say, the Aquila, that'll be in 3.1, and the Carrack, that'll be in 3.6. It could be any...
You just gave two numbers. You shouldn't have said that.
I know, those aren't even real numbers, so I can make up all the numbers. It's going to be out by 4-7.
Who won the debate last night? No, just...
I will...
How to get 50% of the people not to like you. All right, let's move on.
Even then, though, I've learned that everybody has different life experiences. I may look at the candidates and say, hey, it's really obvious, but other people, everybody has their own story. But it's really obvious.
I was hoping that you were just going to pick two names from the Star Citizen universe and pit them against each other, because there is kind of an election going on there, too, isn't there? Or something I've been reading about. So... we all know that this isn't your forte and it's elsewhere, so I'm going to ask your ideas about this. We know that there were plans long ago as part of the stretch goals that now are kind of starting to come to fruition. Some of them aren't. And we know that API, being able to mod the game, is part of Chris's vision and CIG's vision as a whole. So... this is from the Red Eye. Are there any plans to incorporate third-party API? And then think about it from your point of view. You could say yes, and then think about what you would probably like to see, okay? For example, getting Twitch chats into MFDs, Mobiglass for streamers, Netflix or other media viewers to watch on the Phoenix big screens. I have a Phoenix, and I would love this, and I can't wait for my 800 jump if you ever put the freaking thing on sale again, or other installed TVs, maybe even being able to convert a CNC table to project roll 20 for D&D. That's me. I like that for space trucking.
The short answer is yes. We've talked about all that, but no, I'm not the person to implement it myself, so I can't promise too much.
So what's your vision for something like that? If you see this, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It means this means it's Ben's wish list. So don't put this into a soundbite. So, what would your wish list be for things that could be added to the game? And there's just a few there: YouTube, Twitch channels, maybe YouTube channels. Maybe we could watch Around the Verse or Sandy's little news stories on television screens. You know?
Yeah, my feeling is there's a sort of a very specific line there where you want to bring in things that matter to the universe, and you want to give players the ability to do that. I think back to the UO mapper that they did for Ultima Online way back, and it just improved the game massively, having this second application that took the data from the API and showed where you were in the world. So much so that I think it's a default part of the game now, and probably it's pretty much the default part of any MMO. For Star Citizen, I see things like the ability to stream from Twitch, stream from the game, or not necessarily Twitch, but anything, stream out to the world as though it's something that happens in the game. I love that idea. I like the idea of, in-game music and video and so on. I'm not too fond of how it actually gets used in general, because it's mostly just, I'm going to watch the next season of Orange is the New Black while I'm flying my spaceship. But that's somebody that's going.
Sorry.
So somebody in the 30th century isn't necessarily doing that. So I think of like the radio stations in GTA. It seems so cool, but it's because it's been built into the game world. It's not you streaming something from outside,
right?
And you run out of content pretty quickly there.
Well, they've done it in Richard Garriott's game in Shroud of the Avatar, right? They've done it in a very good way there. So.
Oh yeah, they've got like the table you play the music on, don't they? The cylinders and things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a way to look at it for us, because there are people, amazing people, and I was on Diverse this week, and it was hosted by the Base Radio. Those guys are awesome. It would be awesome, it would be awesome. Too many awesomes. I sound like Ted from,
Awesome.
What?
Totally awesome.
Yeah. It would be amazing if we can hear, like, the podcasts in-game, because that would be relevant, right? Or see something like Around the Verse or Bug Smashers or 10 for the Chairman or whatever else we can see. Or while we're sitting around in our hangar, be able to watch, if you ever get back to the old format of Reverse the Verse, but okay,
I think the big thing, the dream, amazing thing I would love to see is for us first to encourage this new type of community content creation where people are doing their shows in the world, not just, hey, I'm talking about the Star Citizen world, but also I'm role-playing, I'm creating content that exists in the Star Citizen universe and giving us a reason to put that in there. Especially like music, what a tired sci-fi trope it is that every team of fighter pilots, invariably, some of them happen to be in love with the music of the 1990s or the 80s, even though it's 700 years from now. I would love to see Star Citizen backers come up with what is space music, and now let's start playing it. What is popular music in the 30th century?
Twisted Sister, we're not gonna take it.
So, a community, create, and we will find a place for it in the universe.
All right, so you're putting us on a mission so you guys could put yourselves on a mission.
I think it's a shared thing. I like everything with Star Citizen.
Because I think there are people creating a lot of in-game content, but maybe that is the case. Right now, it's hard to role-play in the game because you haven't given me a freaking female character yet.
Every man looks the same.
Yes, every man looks the same, and it's a big sausage fest, But I
always just think it's like the end of Forever War, where he finally gets back to future society, and it's turned out that it's just one man, and it's a group collective now.
I think
should have written that in the lore. It would have saved a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, my thought process is once 3.0 comes out, sometime in December or January, whenever you give it to us, then, fingers crossed, then you'll start seeing a lot of content, because there are some wonderful streamers out there, from WTFosaurus and Captain Richard and Sophie Girl and Board Gamer. I could sit here for the whole show and name them, that are in the verse all the time. So what you're looking for is them not to just stream and entertain us, which they do, they're amazing, but to do it from in-game, to actually role-play that type.
Yeah, and I think we'll get there naturally. I think, as we give you more tools, hopefully folks will live in the verse, and then we'll have to develop more tools to broadcast that. Well, you've known this from the day that we did our first video. That's my goal, and you've even created a ship for me, though it's not out yet, which is going to be that's the Mako, right? The one that's the TV news the streamer one, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't wait for that because I want to be able to go to where, the pirate base and, film the races and have people doing color commentating for it and me give my, my little news report on it. Or go to Operation Pitchfork when you guys try to unleash the wrath of I almost said karate, the Vandal on them with Operation Iron Hay Bale. I can't wait for those things. Let's move on to the next question because this one I feel we can stay on for a while. Juan, W-O-U-N, Woun? How'd you say that? Juan?
I don't know. I said Juan.
Is there any progress or significant work being done on the exploration gameplay and the ship implementation? Now, Explorers, if I rattle them off, it's the LX and the Beta in the starter ships, LX for Beta for the Mustang, the 315P. Then what do we jump up to? The Freelancer Dur?
The Dur and then the Carrack.
And then the Aquila.
Oh, we get Terrapin before the Carrack.
Yeah, the Aquila and the Carrack. So we have 6 or 7 different exploration vessels. Obviously, you have different roles for each one. Have you been working on the exploration gameplay guide or whatever you call it?
Yeah, that's a big one for Tony, guys in Austin. And you've probably heard we're working on the Aquila right now. Both the Aquila and the Carrack are in the barrel right now. So a lot of that is when we premiere a new ship that goes with a particular gameplay, we map out a whole lot of that. So short answer, yes.
So 2 different questions from 2 different people. We're going to keep it from one for the first one. Approximately, is exploration aimed for a specific patch release, 3.0, 3.1, much further away like 4.0, or a game launch?
Sorry, say again?
In other words, I'm not going to give you numbers because that's not fair to you or anybody else that's watching the show. Short, medium, or long term, when do you start seeing exploration added into the game?
Oh, medium.
So medium. So that would be sometime in the middle of 3.0 before 4.0 comes out?
Something like that. I think you'll see some exploration in 3.0 just because procedural planets are so big and there's places to literally explore. I think you'll see the codification of exploration further down the line where the whole star systems and all that. But you'll have places to explore now.
All right. And since the Terrapin was a military design, does that mean it might be expedited like some of the other military ships?
I don't want to say expedited, but I think you'll you probably do graphically, you'll see it already, but you'll start seeing ships quicker going into the next year.
So 2 of the ships that are already in the game were sold with tractor beams on them. One of them being the 315P, the other one being... Well, no, actually, it was actually 3, wasn't it? It was the 315P, the Cutlass, and the Freelancer, right?
That sounds right.
What are your ideas on these tractor beams? What purpose do they serve? And think about the 315P specifically. If they use a tractor beam, does that mean the pilot has to get out of the ship and move whatever they capture into the ship manually?
Yes. No, it's going to depend what the thing is. So, I can't say anything particular about tractor beams right now. I haven't done anything with them. But... should work just like Wing Commander. There will be large things to try, and you kind of have that sci-fi, like here's a little tug that pulls a giant wreck somewhere, and you kind of have that you going to the wreck and moving stuff around and trying to find the little valuable bits. And I think you have both of those.
Okay. I'm going to jump over the Squadron 42 release or delayed question because I have a feeling that's a lot of what's going to be on the 9th. So by the end of the 9th, you should know the question that you asked, Long Cut. Second question on the update on the HOTUS, I'll be asking Sandy that question tomorrow. Because we know that, we now have a merger or an acquisition of the people that made the joystick I used to love but hate with a passion right now, the X55, because broken buttons, and it was bought by a company I love, Logitech, so we'll see how that pans out.
Yep, the last I heard, they were still working things out on their end, and we were giving them the time to do that, but hopefully we'll have an update soon. As for release date, I don't have any news personally. It's going to be up to... Yeah.
Now, am I allowed to speak about things I saw in the office in the past?
I don't know. What is it? Say what it is, and then I'll bleep it out.
Logitech.
Oh, for the...
Yeah, like, it seems like you had some kind of relationship with Logitech in the past.
Oh, they provided us a whole bunch of equipment and such.
Wingman Extremes and stuff like that.
Yeah, in fact, we had too many of those. They were we had boxes and boxes of
Sandy
those.
offered me too.
Yes.
I never gave them away. I was like, Sandy, keep them here. I'll just tell you who to send them to, and I forgot to give them away.
No, we never had a particular deal with them. All of the all the joystick manufacturing companies were really, really kind to us early on. Logitech sent us an insane amount of stuff that we equipped folks with and gave away as prizes. So did Thrustmaster, Razer. They've all been good to us because they see Star Citizen as a natural boon to what they're doing.
Yeah.
Hey, we're giving people a reason to buy joysticks again.
I wish Razer would make a joystick. I mean, they make such great mice and keyboards. I wonder why they don't do that.
Yeah, and my experience working with these guys is they're some of the best people you ever meet. That they go see about all the trade shows, and they often say, "Oh, why don't you come show us Star Citizen at whatever event?" Pretty much everybody who works on these projects wants to do fancy flight hardware. They just can't make it work financially. So when a game is coming that hopefully is going to make higher-end flight sticks and throttles and rudder pedals and things more interesting to the general public, they're excited.
Okay.
No particular relationship with Logitech other than that.
Okay. So Rick Skyknight wants me to drill you on the Polaris, so can you turn your light out and get like one of those lamps that will just sit in your face?
Here,
you can do your iPhone.
Yeah.
It's like, Ben, tell me what's going on with the Polaris. When's it coming out?
There are 4 lights.
When's it coming out?
No, it's going out for CitizenCon, hopefully. That's our goal.
Yes, we knew that. I mean, we've dropped every hint we could on that one, right?
Yeah, I think people know that already.
I mean, you never told me up front, but I've been saying Polaris is CitizenCon. That's it. Now, it's going to make the Bono Merchantman people a little bit disappointed, but, I think the Bono Merchantman coming up at 3.0 is like a better option because then you could actually run that cargo, Oh, you're holding your tongue. It might come out.
It's not coming with 3.0, but it's on the schedule.
We know that. I think that's a great ship. I'm not skipping over questions, folks. I just don't have all night long when I have a paper due on Thursday to sit here and talk to Ben all night when I could do it next week in person and really get him to tell us some things. Oh, you heard it here. Guess what? Soundbite. Polaris coming out Friday. No, just kidding.
Sunday. It's a Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's next Sunday. Well,
next
2
Sunday.
Sundays.
This Sunday's TwitchCon. If you're attending TwitchCon, stop by and say hi to me, Ben.
Yeah. And I've already asked Ben if on Halloween, if he wants to do Alien Isolation. That would be awesome. All right. Can we expect more changes to the existing RTF ships? RTF? Reverse?
Yeah. RTF is radio, television, film. I remember that from the University of Texas.
Yeah. All right. We'll skip over that one because I'm stupid. Sorry. Void Flow. I will ask that question to Ben next week if we have time to do a Bensday.
I'm sure we're blanking on something, and we're going to of course, RTF. But,
yeah, I'm going to. It's like, reverse the Frontier. No, Frontier's that other company. David Braven's amazing, too. And I'll ask you this one from Bill Leonard, which is, are there plans to give ships a feeling of weight? Now, I heard this in one of the either 10 for the Chairman or Ask the Developers, or even fully simulate weight when they land. Right now, they touch down and look very stiff, and a bit of suspension or cushion would go a long way.
Yes, that is.
Wasn't this just answered by Chris or somebody else? That when you land, the actual landing gear should be more like a independent suspension?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a instrument. I do know we were playing around with some capital ships just yesterday, and they certainly feel like they have weight to them when you're trying to turn one.
Okay. All right, and we'll go with Krill01, and then the rest of you, I will just put them on to next week so Ben and I can get along with our rest of our days. This is one of my Enablers org mates. It seems that SC is leaning heavily on player piracy as a means to create content. As a non-pirate, I would like to know if merchants and miners are being relegated to being mere loot pinatas, or will be able to actually make a living without playing the carrot and a stick approach, risk versus reward. Being robbed on a regular basis hardly seems to be profitable, and hiring escorts will severely cut into the profits.
So no, it's not a pirate-oriented game. Pirates make for a nice, quick pitch. If you have 10 seconds to show a dogfight, people trying to steal something, it's just this common experience. The actual gameplay, it's much more built around all these different careers interacting. I would say not a worry at all there.
But right now, you're also into a compressed space, folks. There are going to be 1.5 million backers if you read the website. I'd say it's probably about half that many and probably a fifth of that at a time. But
I'm interested to see how many people actually play at once, because I look at my Steam library and I have 700 games I've never played. I wonder how many people max start just.
But I look at it, there's 100, I don't know what's at launch, but there's going to be 100 planets. And 100 stars, systems. And each star system has multiple planets. And each planet has a multiple system of its own. If you look at the space that we're flying in right now, that's Crusader. And it's big, right? So now you're going to expand out to multiple planets, multiple space stations in the Stanton system. So you're going to start learning that the harassment that you're receiving right now when you're trying to do something is going to get thinned out a lot as they expand the universe around you. Plus, there's going to be NPC players in there. There's going to be law enforcement with advocacy flying patrols in certain routes inside the secure space. Is this all right? Am I saying it the right way?
No, you got it. You can do this interview yourself. No.
Now, if I go into the non-secure space, the lawless zone, I might get attacked by pirates, and that would be a more profitable route, which should offset the cost of me hiring people to cover my ass. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Stanton is significantly compressed. As you say, it's a slice of one pizza out of 100 pizzas. But we've also added a bunch of the toppings that would ordinarily stay on other pizzas to this one. So you're seeing stuff like Grimhex that probably would not be so close to a trade lane in the fleshed out universe.
I just got this in from Eris Vandul Veronica, which we always have to give one to the opposition. All right, so I'm trying to read off my Apple Watch, which is not working without glasses. But do I have glasses? I have glasses. How about that? Yes, folks, I'm blind.
It's a fine quality product here.
Yes, I am blind. All right, and Eris says, and this is the last question for sure. In the 3.0 demo, NPC Miles Eckhart betrays the player at the end of the mission. But this means the player now has reason to hunt down and possibly kill the NPC quest giver. Was this betrayal or an added feature?
Yes.
Yes, what?
I actually don't know.
Yeah, he didn't make it, and he was probably just as shocked and excited about it as we were. Is that about right?
That's probably about right.
So, next week, you're going to be busy. Do you think we could catch a little bit of time at the beginning of the week?
I hope so. Or if not, when you're here, do it in person.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I got my camera, and I intend on... I just realized that... Well, never mind. I have my camera. I was looking at my camera going, I just bought this really good mic that goes on top of my Sony camera, and it's not there. And I'm like, oh, when we shot D&D last week, did they take it off? So I don't know. Yeah, I will definitely do it in person. And I think we're going to have somebody join us. I'll be with Sophie Girl most of the week. She's a streamer. She's awesome, amazing, and she does a show once a month with a bunch of other wonderful girls. I wish I remembered every one of their names, but lots of brain cell damage over 51 years of my life. And I'm sorry, girls. I will put it in the links below. All right, Ben, that's all we got for this week. Thank you so much for joining me.
All right, well, we'll see you in person next week. Anybody out there is at TwitchCon, say hi. You can have a business card. Yay.
All right, and there is a Bar Citizen coming up after CitizenCon in Atlanta that I will be covering and going to, and I will give you as much information about that as I can in the near future. I'll probably do that in a separate video to try to pump it up and then talk about it again next week when I'm over in California. And with that said, folks, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.